Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Ragucci, and here with a few friends in the Delaware County area. We get in a basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic is the second annual DNNey's our movie award yearly podcast thing, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. We talk about movies from 2023 or the year prior. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat. Chris Trio.
Gooch, I'm extremely excited to be here. I am sad, though, that we are not joined by the one and only and master and proprietor of his famous system, Luke Kenny. He is on strike.
He is.
He's demanding fair work for fair pay.
Listen, I told him that the strike was over.
I told him that too.
He insisted that this year he had to keep the strike going for this year.
He needs to let it go. Yeah,
right. He had to really show it to the studios and the executives.
I told him a raise just isn't possible right now, and he just isn't accepting it.
Yeah.
But he's just going to continue to stay on strike until we give in. But we'll see. It could be a while. But we're sad he's not here. I just wanted to say that.
Luke couldn't make it with us this year, so we decided we didn't want to replace him or anything like that. This is like this show is this part. You know, the DNNey's was Luke's idea with us. So we didn't want to just bring someone else on to kind of replace him for the year he wasn't here. Jokes aside, he actually just wasn't able to make it long term. We've knew about this for a while, so we knew we were going to just do it. Us two.
But he is here in spirit.
We're holding down the fort.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we can, be just as good without him.
But he is missed. He's here in spirit, like we said.
It's not going to be as funny, and we may not have as a wider swath as of movies that Luke usually brings. But it'll be in the thumbnail. The thumbnail is probably hilarious.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, before we get into the DNNeys, and we'll explain what the DNNeys are and how we did it last year. We're doing it exactly the same way we did it last year. We usually talk about what's going on, what we're playing, what we're doing,
all the good
yada,
stuff.
yada. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been that long since we recorded DNN 100. Mm-hmm. Thanks for watching, guys. That was a fun episode to do. Very different podcast. I think I said at the end that just felt
First
weird.
Piece of reaction content, DNN reaction content.
Yeah. The only thing I think we could do reaction again would be like Everything Entertainment.
Yeah.
The first episode.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny.
Yeah, that would be funnier because it's just like it is a podcast, but yeah, I think I still have it.
I'm sure you do.
I think I still do.
I'm sure it's probably
it might be audio only. Well, it is audio only. There isn't any video, so it could be a little bit different. But maybe we do that for something one day. But you know what's funny? You didn't ask me how I'm doing, which is fine. It didn't make sense to.
Yeah, I meant to.
But on the Halo season 2 episode that you did ask how I was doing, I said I wasn't doing pretty good. And I got to tell you this story, man. I wake up on Sunday. I have a little bit of a headache.
Sure.
I had Kathy over yesterday. I think the wine got to me a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was sore. I did legs at the gym yesterday, and of course, as I usually do on the weekends, I wake up and I go to the gym. Get to the gym, parking lot's empty. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, I know Sundays can be pretty bare, but
sure,
this is
but
weird.
like, it's wild.
And I see people like in the vestibule at Planet Fitness and Broomall, and I get out and I'm like, and somebody like opens the door and they go, nobody's here. Like there's no workers.
No
there.
one showed up. Yeah.
And like the TVs are on. The vest, so when have you been to Broomall Planet Fitness?
Yeah.
There's like a vestibule and then you like walk into the gym. Mm. So like that door is open.
Right, but the inside door was not.
Right.
Right.
So I guess someone just didn't show up to their shift, which was
probably
fucking
what it
brutal.
is.
So I missed my arm workout today, and I'm very annoyed because of like LSM. Sacred Symbols 300, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit, like, and some other stuff. I haven't been doing my 2, Saturday, Sunday morning gym sessions.
You were excited to get back to it.
Yeah, and they fucked me over.
That's ridiculous.
And I feel fat.
Yeah,
I feel fat, Trio.
You feel fat, and you feel unworked out.
Yeah,
and it's unacceptable, to be honest. That's ridiculous. I'd be pissed too.
So that's how my morning's going. At least.
I mean, that's not. And don't get me wrong. That's not like a super long drive for you, but that's you took like 15 minutes.
I waited for like 40 minutes.
Really?
I got there at 8:50. I waited there until 9:30. I was like, I'll give it some time.
Yeah, right. Half an hour.
I'm gonna give it some time. And I'm like. And at 9:30, I'm like, now this is getting into my day. I got to meal prep. My mom has to cook later, so I had to meal prep before you came. Then we got a podcast. I'm like, I got a day ahead of me.
Yeah, no, you got to get shit done.
Waiting around for people to show up to their own shift.
That might not even show up. That is so wild.
Crazy.
I'd be very annoyed. I'd be super sour, if anything. But I'm glad you made it through it.
So what's been going on, man? Talk to me. Hasn't been
Not
that
much.
long since we recorded.
I'm trying to think. So I did write out a few things. Movies and TVs wise, there was a big one that I saw that I actually really enjoyed. Was Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it at all?
Who I
David
heard about it from you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's him.
He's in it. He
Tell me.
plays like a late night host in the, I want to say 70s, if not early 80s. He's competing against Johnny Carson. He can't quite beat him ratings wise.
Like actually?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So it's shot
That's
from this
interesting.
whole angle of it's almost like a it's found footage in a way, but it's almost as if they found the footage, the full footage reel from this late night TV show that it was apparently it went awry back in the day, and it's like it presents it as like here's the full events from that night of Late Night with I can't remember his name in it. But the idea is he's kind of, petering off. His wife dies, and it kind of, they start talking about like this kind of shit in Hollywood, like how he's in this society, and that's kind of tangentially related. But it's really shot from like this whole point of view that you are watching like the behind the scenes footage of this late night episode. It's all shot one camera, and it really feels like you're in with the audience, like watching a late night episode. And the idea is that he is having an exorcist live on his show during Halloween, an exorcism, to bring up ratings. And things go a little awry.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it.
Interesting premise. So like Blair Witch found film, like exactly like that, or a little different?
It's almost as if they record, like they took all the footage from this one night of recording this late night show, and it was all archived.
Right.
And they found that
never been
footage,
seen.
and it's never been seen.
So it's like highly produced.
Yes.
Okay.
And well, it's to a degree because there's like some of it's highly produced because it's just supposed to be like the footage from the actual show, that actually went to air.
Mm-hmm.
But then it cuts to behind the scenes stuff where it's always in black and white, and you're getting these kind of views of like conversations between David Dastmalchian's character and like his behind the scenes guy and his like cohort who's like his Andy, like that Conan has on his Late Night. But I really enjoyed it, man. I love a good scary movie that doesn't have a ton of jump scares. It just really does atmosphere well, and overall is just a good movie. It's only 90 minutes. It's nice in and out, breezy flick. I think David Dastmalchian in it is fantastic. I continue to think he's a really kind of great and underutilized actor in a lot of ways. Whenever he's in something, I thoroughly enjoy him. But I would definitely recommend it. It's really cool. There's not a ton of jump scares, which I thought was cool. Like I said, it's much more atmospheric and just like you're like, kind of what the fuck's going on here? So yeah, definitely would recommend that.
Cool.
Other than that, I think I might have mentioned this on the last one, but I moved on to Arkham Knight, which has been a lot of fun.
I think you were talking about Origins.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So you're on tonight.
What a game!
What?
And
How about that Arkham Knight twist?
again, that's one if they just leaned
Jason Todd? Didn't
if
see
that's,
that coming.
if that's one that they
Spoilers.
leaned into more, man, I think that would have been way more well received because
Yeah.
it does work completely well. This is very much Under the Red Hood, a rendition of that story, which I'm fine with. But dude, I hate to compare and contrast, but I have been dipping my toes back into Spider-Man 2. It just doesn't touch it story-wise. Like the way Arkham and that series unfolds its story and how it tells you things is just so much better than the way Spider-Man does it. It doesn't like ruin your inertia, Gooch. Like you're as Batman the whole time. You don't get to a cutscene area where you need to walk around and interact with random things.
You don't play as Gordon.
You don't play. Well, what's funny in Arkham Knight, you play as Gordon for 5 seconds when you show up at like a movie theater and you walk in.
Right,
but it's real quick. You're in and out.
And then you play as that guy in the beginning in the diner.
Yes,
when the fear talks.
Which is like, I get that, but I feel like in the Spider-Man games, especially in the second one, to relay these story beats to you, it feels the need to pull you in as Peter, and it pulls you out of the Spider-Man-ness of it all.
element.
Which like Batman is like, no, he's Batman this whole time. Every interaction you're having with people is as Batman, and I get that makes a bit more sense for Batman, but it's just apples and oranges in the way it tells its story, and I don't know. It just makes me like kind of almost sour on Spider-Man. And in some ways, it's sad to say because I do love that game. And honestly, swinging around in the new game plus has been fun. They added a lot of new suit colors for the Ultimate Edition, that you unlock.
I have to go back because they added a new game plus trophy.
Right.
So
I'm doing that right now on Spectacular.
Yeah, I'm like, god damn it.
Honestly, on Spectacular,
I don't think they're gonna do we know they're not doing DLC for that game.
I think it's gonna be the Spider-Man or the Venom game.
Right, they'll do a Miles Morales
Type
2.5.
thing,
Yeah. And it's very clear that Spider-Man Rivals thing. No,
Yeah, it was. I can't
that
remember
multiverse thing,
yeah.
dude. When I saw that, I was like, "Fucking kill me!" I am so sick of multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
It's so played out, and it's funny. Like even like Final Fantasy Rebirth, it does multiverse. The 7 stuff does it in a way very different though. But it's just like I'm so sick of everyone thinking that like the multiverse trope is the way to go.
No,
it's so not.
Well, I think in that, with a game like that, what they're trying to do, I think that works as like a mechanism. You know what I mean? That's how, like, how else do you do that?
Right, and it just looks like everyone is just playing the same Spider-Man. I'm like, this doesn't look good.
Well, everyone was they were playing, like, people were playing as like Gwen and stuff like that. I thought it looked like it could be a cool. The problem is developers don't do this anymore. It would have been a cool 2-year-long multiplayer game that they released some content for, and you know what? It has its life. It's here and gone. But that's not what these places want. They want something that is an everlasting gobstopper that you can continue to make money on. And those just type of multiplayer games don't
I'm
exist
actually
anymore.
thinking about it more now. Sony proper probably canceled that.
Yeah.
Cancel factions. Look.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
these companies were making multiplayer suites that are sort of like, you know, like ancillary components to their single player games. And it clearly... Insomniac is not a multiplayer studio. Neither was Naughty Dog.
You're not going to make that square peg fit that round hole,
right?
And
I think they're not going to make a Helldivers 2 or a game that really needs to be this like live service money generator thing.
And that's where I think the problem is that I think they could have made like a multiplayer game that's a fun experience that has 2 years worth of content.
Yeah,
and that's it.
That's a byproduct
because that's a finite,
of like a different era of gaming.
And it just doesn't happen anymore. And that's the sad part. I don't know. That does really annoy me, but I do think the multiplayer game could have been cool in that respect. There's a lot coming out leak-wise. But yeah, Spider-Man, I would definitely check out again. It's still, to traverse in that game is still top tier. I'll give them that 100%. Like Batman, you know, you're just gliding everywhere. But even that game still looks and feels fantastic. If you haven't played any of the Arkham games, I think they're on sale for like $2.99 right now. The Return to Arkham trilogy.
Yeah, there's spring sales going on Xbox and PlayStation.
Go check that out. Please buy those games. They still hold up to this day. Regardless,
even though it's not spring, it's still like 40 degrees.
But speaking of multiverse and things overdone, Gooch, what I've been playing, one of the earliest multiversal stories that I think I can remember in pop culture.
I don't even know where you're going. I'm trying to figure this out. You want to give me a hint?
BioShock Infinite.
Oh, true.
one of those first,
love BioShock Infinite.
A fantastic game, man.
Don't understand this hate that it gets.
This like retroactive like hate.
It was always bad.
Either.
Like nah, it's a
fuck off.
Fucking piece of art.
It's a fantastic piece of art. It was one of the first time I was exposed to the multiversal concepts.
I still haven't watched the Judas stuff.
Dude,
is that what did you?
Yes, that's what inspired me. I was like, oh, I need to go back and play. I have the itch, and I'm going to play Burial at Sea, and I think if I'm still feeling it, I'm going to play BioShock 1 again.
So when I played the collection, I did Infinite, Burial at Sea 1, 2. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever finished 2.
I would play the collection again on PlayStation and get the trophies. Like, it's definitely not a hard pull for me, but I think I would probably play them in like, you know, chronologic or in release order this time. You never finished 2?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I want to go back and do it though. I think that's gonna be on the list.
Den's DLC is like one of those DLCs that gets like is on like the pantheon of like those original
top tier DLCs.
Yeah, I don't really know why.
That is interesting.
It's a weird conversation point that I feel like came up like in the early like 2010s where like suddenly like Burial at Sea was this like example of like great narrative DLC, and I think it's pretty good.
I think it's fantastic. Yeah. From what I remember.
But like I just was like it's like such a weird...
Burial at Sea or Minerva's Den?
Minerva's Den. I'm sorry, Minerva's Den for BioShock 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go back and finish it. I really should because that was still like Ken Levine, right? And everything.
No,
or was that not?
No,
okay,
it wasn't. It was like 2K Marin or something like that, or Marin.
Interesting. But yeah, dude, watch that interview with him. The narrative Legos he's talking about and stuff.
That's so Kojima.
It sounds...
Wait, does he like set it up with Legos? Is that what he means?
No, he's talking about...
I totally assumed.
No, so the idea is he's talking about these narrative Legos, and you know, you have a lot of procedurally generated stuff now with a lot of things. And the idea is Judas will be somewhat procedurally generated, but it will be taking from incredibly specific story beats that they created that will unfold depending on how you interact with the game. Dude, it genuinely...
That sounds awesome!
It sounds...
I don't know if I get it.
I can't believe that I'm not explaining it very well. I'm still
I
kind of grasping the
care.
concept.
I'm in.
It truly sounds like it could be a new leap in single player games. And
Oh,
I mean, he's
man.
been spending 10 years on this.
10 bucks an hour.
10 years on this, really trying to hone it in and figuring out how it works. And he's talking about like play testing the game and like, because when you go into these levels and you're play testing it, they're completely different depending on how you've played the game so far. And the way that these new characters interact. So I'll give you a really broad stroke here. Main thing is you're on the Mayflower, which is this ship that is going to, I can't remember which off-distance galaxy, but Earth has died. This guy's created the ship to continue humanity, and it's run by these three people.
So it's like Wally.
Yes,
Except
it's run by these
a lot less fat people.
Exactly. It's run by these three individuals who find out that they are, in fact, actually, I mean, he says this in the thing. So
I'm gonna watch the trailer.
yeah, so he says they find like something goes awry. Judas, who you play as, causes the downfall of this place, and you are kind of finding your you have a bit of amnesia. You remember some things, but you don't remember others, and you're kind of figuring out what happened throughout your journey. While simultaneously, these three individuals are trying to get you to side with them.
Your Andrew Ryan Comstock figures.
Correct. Yeah. There's one guy who runs the security on the station, one woman who runs like the scientific aspect, and the other woman who runs the interactions. Like she sets up people and like social things. She's like their therapist almost, and they end up finding out they are robots, and things go down, and so they are gone, but their consciousness is still on the ship, following you around the ship the whole time and trying to convince you to side with them to get to this far off galaxy where humans can repopulate and hopefully survive.
Okay.
Again, I want you to watch this because I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this.
I've been putting this off. Like
watch the interview with Jeff Keighley and Ryan from DMC. Ryan McCaffrey was really good. It was really good. He did a ton of interviews actually.
Yeah. I noticed, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to put it up on the 4K and give it some time and like just kind of sit there and like fully immerse in what I was doing. And I've been putting it off, but I think I might do it tonight.
It sounds so cool, Gooch. I'm so excited. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very BioShock coded in how the combat looks and stuff.
I think that's what we want, right?
And yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's fine, but like when it comes to how they are doing the narrative and this kind of narrative Lego idea, it sounds really interesting, man. And I think it could be game-changing, for lack of a better term, in a lot of ways.
Good. Yeah. Good to hear.
And then other than that, I've been playing Dragon's Dogma 2, of course, which we'll get to. I've been talking about it in the Discord a lot, only because I'm trying to kind of let it simmer.
Sure.
I'm
very glad you ended up getting it.
Yeah.
Didn't you feel like the DLC thing was overblown now that you're playing it?
No. Well, again, I think my whole point with that is they caused the confusion themselves. And
sure,
I think
but
that
in the way that the game isn't like putting it in your face.
Well, for sure. No, absolutely. And again, I think you can get kind of everything. I do think the economy's really weird in it, and I don't really I'm not making a lot of money, which has been kind of a problem. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I think the questing I can kind of get a little aimless on, personally. But the combat is awesome. I'm playing as a sorcerer. I really like all the different vocations.
Have you switched at all?
I did. I was playing as archer a little bit, but then I went back to sorcerer just because I really like it.
I started as thief. I made Paul Atreides. I'm playing as Timothy.
That's great.
And then my pawn is Kim Wexler from Better Call Saul. Yeah. I never do this with games, and I feel like this was a good one to do it. I think it is one of the best character creators we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
It's funny because this one you can really make people look like real people. In like Baldur's Gate, I feel like they kind of take out this real life edge to it.
Well, they're also like preset for the facial
it's a lot different. Like you can't really make Gale in in Baldur's Gate 3's character customization. You get like dollar store knockoff Gale.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can give him the hair and everything, but you're not going to get his face.
Yeah,
because you can't manipulate the face like that. You can only choose from a set.
Yeah, but I kind of like both. I think they both have their place.
Absolutely.
So I'm playing as Paul. I started as a thief. I switched to archer, and I really wasn't liking it. And then I switched back. I
switched to archer to do that quest with the elf.
Yeah,
to get me to the thing, and then I switched back to sorcerer.
Yeah.
I will say the magic in this feels meaty and fun.
Okay.
It's rare that I deal with a game like that.
In Dogma 1, I didn't do sorcerer. Is that what it's called?
So there's mage and sorcerer, but like I don't know if there's something else past that because I haven't unlocked all the vocations.
Are you sure it's mage?
I thought it was because there's two magic ones. There's one that you start with and then you unlock sorcerer. I thought it was mage. Maybe it's like something else because The sorcerer symbol is like a darker blue.
Yes,
and that
I
one's a
know.
lighter blue. But yeah, I really like the magic. I think that
Oh, it is mage.
That's what I thought.
Okay. I don't know why I was confused on that. Yeah. I think so I have warrior and sorcerer now. And so sorcerer is like more offensive. It's
Right.
not support.
No,
whereas,
it's very
mage
much
is
more
support.
So my party's me with a mage, and then my pawn, Karina. She's a warrior. And then the other guy is, I want to say, a thief. So we don't have any archers in my party.
Yeah.
But she's good for...
I think pawn archers are really good because they're
Yeah.
accurate.
Exactly. They're accurate.
They hit.
I do think the mage pawns are really good too with
Yeah.
the support and stuff. They are
Yeah.
a really good kind of support one.
Yeah.
Even like me as a sorcerer with my mage and then 2 fighters, I'm kicking ass.
Have you used any friends of the show's pawns or anything like that?
I don't think I have yet. I don't
Okay.
think I've had the chance to grab one off there. I'd have to
Yeah,
look
because
for
I'm on
for Fred and all
Xbox
that.
and I'm the only one, which
yeah.
is kind of funny. Well, I thought about it. I'm like, like I might, I might not be able to use people's pawns, like if I out level them. So
Exactly.
it's not like a huge deal.
No, it's kind of a
It'd be
nice
cool.
layer
It's like,
when you-
oh, I'm playing with trios guy.
Yeah.
And like,
I think the pawn system's really interesting. If they
love
say
it.
the same fucking thing again, I'm gonna kill someone. It's getting to that point with like.
I ventured with a Risen who had a lot of Beastrin allies.
It seems like we have a party full of all women. It seems the master has a preference.
and we're all different.
I get, and I think it's an
What a
interesting.
thought.
I like the idea of leaning into it, and I like how they kind of lead you places, and it's definitely a lot more hands off in a lot of ways. But
This game is so much better than the first one.
Yeah,
so much
I-
better.
it
It's so
makes sense.
realized. It's awesome. I think Dragon's Dogma 2. I mean, it was on my list of things to play, so I'll talk about it here.
Yeah.
My game of the year so far.
oh, well, I'm trying to think what else has really even come out.
Rebirth would be my only other one, and guess why Rebirth isn't?
I don't know.
It's a sequel.
Right, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm trying
Yeah,
to
I'm
think.
like I
what
played this game before, and it was a game that was my game of the year, but I've played this before.
now I'm looking at like what.
And I
games
have
we
some
reviewed.
some issues with Rebirth, but I'll get to that in a minute.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2 has been awesome. I'm going at it really slow. I'm not playing a lot
I
of
haven't
games
seen
right
it
now,
yet.
but I've been dating somebody, and I've just have a lot going on, so like I haven't had a ton of time to like really
Sit down and
jump
kind of
in.
media.
Yeah, like it's been kind of like annoying in that regard. It's just like I'm still playing Rebirth, and I'm playing Dragon's Dogma 2, and I'm playing Banishers, which I mean. I guess I'll just talk about it. I'm talking about it. I hit the point of no return, so I'm at the end, and I'm just doing all the side stuff before I finish up. And then once we do that, we're obviously gonna sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, that's one I might get back to this year sometime too, depending on if I see
Yeah, I'm
it on
gonna
sale.
save my thoughts. I am liking the game. I think the last time I talked about it was like I wasn't sure how I felt about the length.
Sure.
And I still don't think I've fully formed my decision on if it's a good or a bad thing.
Sure.
But it's definitely worth the price of admission, $50, I think $60. It's got a lot of content to it. And I think you can make it as long as or as short as you want.
Right.
But yeah, sorry, I kind of took the mic.
Oh
from
no,
you.
you're actually that was perfect because I'm done. That's
Oh,
all I
okay,
had.
cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the Dragon's Dogma 2. I don't think I have anything else to say. I'm headed to Batal, so I'm going to
Okay.
the other continent or the
Yeah,
other
I just got
land
to the
or country.
Elven village and was doing stuff there. I helped save that. Did you do that at all? Like help
Yeah,
the archer?
you're a little bit behind.
Yeah.
me.
Again, I've been kind of fucking around. You need to buy that raiment. I don't have enough money to go and do the ball. It's like 150,000 gold.
You haven't found courtly attire?
It's you have to find. You can find it somewhere.
I found tons of them.
I haven't. Where I don't know if I'm missing them. Where would you find them?
I just
On enemies and stuff,
I think I just found them in chests.
All right, I might have
Yeah,
missed it.
I
Or
had-
maybe you know what? I'm gonna go home and check my the inn. Maybe I did put it away. and I
Yeah,
didn't
courtly
even realize
attire
it.
is what I used.
Yeah, because that's
to
what
get into
it's at
Masquerade.
the apothecary in the city. But it's 150 gold, 150,000 gold to buy.
Really.
Yeah. So I
Oh wow!
I
didn't
need
even
to
look at
say
that.
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. You can buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I guess they make you really pay for it. I like how the game makes you explore the world, and I
do
think
too.
I think it's a very different way to do an RPG. It doesn't.
It's not
it
quite
holds your
Elden Ring.
hand just enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the lack of fast travel. I think like traveling the world back and forth is kind of fun. Like it's just kind of like enjoyable. Like it feels like a very like D&D kind of game.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I saw someone posting online, and this is just Twitter, so it's funny. But they were like, "This looks almost this game looks like better, almost as good, if not better, than Red Dead 2." I was like, you're on some serious copium. I think the environments look very
I
good.
can see the comparison, but
The
I don't think
faces are very bad.
I don't think that's fair at all.
No, but
they're
like,
two very different games.
well, but they're saying like I think
world
just look
wise, I see what they're saying.
I think visuals, I think it does look really good, but I don't think it really comes even close. The faces on some of the models are pretty rough. I will say. Especially the NPCs and stuff.
Bad.
It's very robotic. But it is funny because they built this in the RE engine, right?
Yeah,
Which it makes sense when you like, especially with the hair. How
some of the characters do look like RE8 or 7 characters, or the remake RE games. They like you can kind of see the characters.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So 2 more games. Yeah, I'm still going through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. For those playing, I am at the end of the Gongaga region, so I think I have 2 more regions, and then I'm done. I'm about 80 to 90 hours in. And I like the game. It's definitely not my game of the year for just the sequel of it. Like, you know, it's remake and it's doing a little things different, but like, again, it's remake. It's that original game we got. And the open world stuff has really been hit or miss for me. Some regions I hate, some regions I like.
Interesting.
I think the game takes a lot from Guild Wars 2's, way you explore the worlds in that, where there's like a few quests and like points of interest, and like you have like map completion, and you complete the zone and you get points, and there's like a progression system for each region. It's pretty interesting. But I just don't really, it's like, again, it's a Japanese company's take on like open world, and it's just like you're just getting here. You know, we've been playing these types of games. So I think it kind of is hit and miss in a way. It's not my favorite. I kind of liked when it was linear and remake, but it's been an interesting experience nonetheless. And on our Halo Season 2 hot take, I talked about how I jumped back into Infinite's campaign, and I did. Literally after finishing Season 2, I was like, you know what? I'm popping in Infinite. I've been wanting to jump back into the campaign for a while, and kind of just finished up some achievements, like getting the collectibles and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I love Infinite's open world. It just feels like what it needs to be,
right?
Even though that is kind of limiting in a way. You know, you are in this like Pacific Northwest environment, and that's all it is, but it just feels like Halo.
No, definitely. It feels like Halo 1 especially, I think.
Yeah, it's got a vibe to it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna keep at that a little bit, because I've been meaning to go back and like kind of like get some Halo Infinite achievements, and I've been playing multiplayer here and there over the last few months, but other than that. So yeah, for movies and TV, Halo Season 2, we talked about that. Our hot takes out now. You can go check it out. 2 movies I finished for the DNNeys. Like I did last year, I tried to watch some like Oscar nominated movies. Anatomy of a Fall, which actually didn't make any of my list. It's simply about a French couple who the husband of the couple falls out a roof and dies, and it's about that. Very interesting movie.
Interesting.
You know, the idea is like the wife of the guy is the only witness. Did she do it or not?
I see.
So that's what the whole movie's about. And
makes sense. Yeah.
The movie, the characters in the movie are trying to figure that out, but you're trying to figure that out as well. It's an interesting movie. It's a long.
Gone Girly?
I've never seen Gone Girl.
Oh, that might be a rewind review. We might have
It's not. I know there's some like really insidious moments in Gone Girl.
It's not that hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Mm-hmm. But like by the end of the movie, like I still am not sure. I don't know if I.
It's
like,
leaving you questioning.
You think that like I'm watching the movie, and for the majority of the movie, like she did it, 100%. Like they're like lining up everything, like they're showing you all the evidence. Like it just seemed to make sense, and then you get to a certain point where like, wait,
actually not. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it kind of changes.
They get
again.
a shadow of a doubt.
It brings it back, and I'm like, dude, the way the movie's kind of
it's good.
Interpreting like this crime scene, and it's very normal. It's in English and in French. So it switches between the two. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. Okay.
Zone of Interest, which I'll talk about. I'll save that. And then last night with Kathy, actually, I watched I Think You Should Leave Season 2. Most of it. I like that comedy. It's
funny. It's fun. It's irreverent. It's wild.
It's interesting to watch them take jokes to just such a degree that like is so unnecessary. It's entertaining. If it's not funny, it's just somewhat entertaining to see like how far
they're going.
They're willing to go. Tim Robinson, I think, just got a new show.
He did.
He's like hot now.
Yeah, he is. He's like, picking up. I mean, it is funny how that kind of took off. People love the sketch comedy when it hits.
Yeah, and I think it reminds me of like comedy, like Whitest Kid You Know, and things I watched like when I was younger in like the late 2000s.
Super wild. I actually don't even want to say it because it sounds too close. The grape.
The Grapist.
Yeah.
Grapey in the mouth. Yeah.
Guys, we can't
Time
do
to
this.
the radiator. I'll grape you.
Insanity.
Yeah, and I think the only other thing we had to talk about is we took a little trip out to New York City a few Sundays ago to see
Sacred 300.
Yeah, Sacred Symbols, number one PlayStation podcast in the world. We went to their live show at the SVA Theater in New York City, and that was a fun little day trip.
It was a great time.
We got to see my buddy Jason. Trio's first time meeting him. We've been trying to get him on the pod, actually, so shout out to Jason.
We'll see if that happens. Absolutely. We'd love to have him.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
He's a dad. You know, he's busy.
Yeah, he's fresh dad. Pretty new dad.
Yeah, fresh out
congrats.
of the womb, dad.
Unofficial, yeah. Fresh out there.
Yeah, but the live show was fun. It was cool to see Dustin and Dagan again. Dustin's been on the podcast before, and he was at the Too Many Games panel, and I hope we'll be there again this year.
We'll see him there again.
And actually, did we say we applied to do
I
Too
feel
Many
like we
Games?
did.
I think we did. Yeah.
But we did again. So hopefully we'll get it. I'll be there this year with Gooch. What was our topic choice again, or do we want to even say it?
Let's hold it.
All right, let's
I
hold
don't think we did say it. But
I don't know if we did. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm forgetting.
yeah.
I keep getting them confused because we also applied for.
I don't think we're getting the Fan Expo. I'm actually very annoyed with them. I'm like, why did we even apply for this?
Fan
like,
Expo was the one that like called us last minute last year,
Yeah,
right?
and we are now that's at the beginning of May, and I want to go.
Yeah.
But if they email us again and be like, yeah, like
Here's a week, but like here's half
your
a week before.
No, I'm like,
yeah.
no, dude,
Yeah.
I'm not. No, I'm
not
not
stressing over that for like just to get
right. If you really want us there and you're on top of your things, you'll give us plenty notice so we can prepare. Yeah,
and even if that was a chance that could happen, let us know before. Like say, hey, you're not accepted now, but there's possibly a chance that someone's going to drop out. So maybe try and have something possibly ready if you want.
Yeah, like I'm not going to be like, hey, Chaz, like we may or may not be doing this thing. It's like, no, I don't. Yeah. Like I don't want to do the panel without filming it. I think that's kind of a waste for us in a way. Like I'd rather get the content out of that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'll probably be at Fan Expo for at least a day. Like I don't know if you're.
I think I'm gonna come.
Cool.
Look, I want to take Tamira's down and stuff too. So yeah, I'm sure I could rope Super and his lady. Cassie
I think Kathy would come as well.
I think we could actually get a small little group together, honestly, to go. So
yeah,
should be
it's been a while since we've done a con together.
Yeah, I know. I would, dude. I'd love to do New York again, but it's just such a headache getting those tickets now.
I actually want to. I want to try to do New York Comic Con this year. I have a lot of weddings in the September-October range, but not.
I know we have mics in September.
Yeah,
right?
I think New York Comic Con is like either the first or second week of October.
I mean, keep me posted, man. If we can get tickets, I'd easily go again.
Yeah,
that was so much fun.
It's not till July that tickets are available. Yeah, I would want to do that. And I know Jason, I think, would probably want to go as well. He goes to NYCC like every year.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't come up when we were talking. But yeah. Shout out to Sacred 300.
It was a great time, great show. Yeah.
We got to meet Colin and all those guys who did the VIP experience, so that was cool. It was quick, but I love that Q&A. It was so intimate. It was no mics,
really cool.
just like talking. Like it was cool. It was
definitely.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I think the only thing that was a hitch, and Dustin even talked about this on the last podcast, was I think they just did too many VIPs.
Yeah,
just because again
and
they were just running.
That,
and again we appreciated it. We knew that they were trying to see everyone, and we didn't get rushed through or anything. I mean, they were just trying to keep the line moving and stuff. Just because they're paying by the hour, I get it. That starts becoming a lot of money.
Yeah,
but no, dude, it was a great time. It was a lot of fun. Great to see the show. It was cool to be in the theater, SVA theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool stuff.
All right. Welcome to the second annual DNNeys with your hosts, Anthony Ragucci and Chris Trio.
I'm doing fingers right now, if you're not watching.
That was not planned. I just did that off the cuff. All right, so DNNeys. What is the DNNeys? It is our little Oscars movies in review.
Our movie of the year podcast, for lack of a better term, in some ways. Yeah,
but it's not necessarily structured like the game of the year stuff.
No.
It's a bit different. Luke and Trio kind of came up with this last year. So we're going to do our top 5 movies of the year. We're going to do me and then Trio. Then we'll come back around the table and we'll do our honorable mentions. Obviously, what that sounds like.
Right.
And then we'll go Trio, me. And then we'll do the ugly. And then we'll go me, Trio.
Right.
And that's how we'll do it. And we'll talk about movies. overall, before we start, it was like a good year, but a very like year for movies.
I agree.
Like there were a lot of good standouts, for me.
Absolutely.
But then I was like, the honorable mentions. I was looking at a list last year, and we all had like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I struggled to get even 3.
Right. There's one I meant to put Dungeons and Dragons down on mine too. But yeah, that's same here. I kind of was doing the same thing. It's like because all I can do is really go back through the movie list for the last year and be like, because even me, I'll watch like Talk to Me.
Thank God for Letterboxd.
Right. And so I do want to start. I really do need to get better with Letterboxd
it's
for
easier
that
to
because
track,
that is
yeah.
awesome. You can just go through and scroll through the last movies you watched that year. But yeah, it takes a little bit of getting together, but I think that it's nice to go through all the movies and kind of do a real kind of
analysis.
Of what we've been through.
Analysis of the year.
Well, and it's funny. I was looking
2023.
at the movies we reviewed last year. We didn't do a ton, really, to be honest.
Really?
It's like, I mean, at least not as much as I would have expected, maybe. We definitely hit the ones that, like, I would have guessed, but, like, there was stuff like, Top Gun wasn't last year, but Mission Impossible, like, that's one I kind of would have liked to get in and see.
Yeah, I think just like the year before or the Mission Impossible before, it kind of fell at a time where
Where
we're
it was
just like,
yeah.
we're doing a lot. Like there are a lot of TV shows out right now. Like we're gonna do Invincible next, and we were talking about doing Masters of Air, and it's just like Jesus Christ, like we want to do more TV shows, but there's a lot.
And they're a lot
right
more
now.
of a commitment too, because it's usually 8 hours of show.
And I guess the one good thing this year we don't have to worry about is there's besides Deadpool 3, and hopefully not Craven.
No Cravens this year. It's coming, Gooch. They aren't canceling it. They put out Madam Web. They're putting out Craven.
There's not a lot of superhero movies that kind of clutter us up. So I think it is a good opportunity to, like, I wish we would have, like some of these movies, like, I'm like, did the Holdovers have, like, like, some of those movies just don't have this big buzz that's going to get us to the theater. And you usually know after the fact.
Well, it's funny. With Holdovers, I remember seeing the trailer for that in theaters and being like, this looks cool, like, fun and like cozy, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I'll check it out at some point, but it wasn't like one of those ones where I was like, I need to get out to go to see this, you know what I mean?
Right.
But do we want to get right into it here?
Yeah, let's get right into it.
Start us off, Gooch.
I think I'm going to reorder my list really quick.
So is yours in a particular order? Because mine is not.
No.
Okay, yeah,
but
mine are just...
I think I did the same thing last year where I put my top 1 at the top.
Right.
And I'm going to do this again here. This movie really took me by surprise. And it was a movie that wasn't on my radar at all. And my dad happened to text me and he was like, hey, have you heard of this? And I'm like, yeah, but like I thought it wasn't what it actually was. And then we went to go see it and I was absolutely blown away. I don't think a movie could have caught me off guard like this, like in a million years, but it just happened to happen. Godzilla -1, like absolutely blew me away. It's a World War II based Godzilla movie, fully Japanese made. Of like I think like a like
what's
17
that studio called again? The studio that keep continuing. I'm sorry.
I think it has like a $17 million budget, like barely any money, and they managed to make an excellent Godzilla movie that I was really invested in. Not really in
Toho Studios. Toho.
So I wasn't really invested in Godzilla per se. I'm not a kaiju fan. I'm not really into Kong, Godzilla. We don't really review those movies here. I guess I could say the same for you, Trio. I don't really think you're into those either.
No, definitely. I feel like they aren't even really that. They're not. Maybe they are more common than we realize. But yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but -1 was not on my list. And then my dad said something to me about it, and I was like, you know what? That sounds cool.
Yeah,
I was like, like. I was so enthralled by it. The music, the way they did Godzilla, the cast, the characters, like the morals and the morality behind it. Just to say it short, I don't want to tell you too much because I know you haven't seen this.
No,
one.
I want to see it. I was trying to see it this week and I just didn't have the time.
So the movie takes place around essentially a kamikaze pilot who doesn't go through with it. And he lands on this island, and this is an island where they repair planes and stuff. And on this island, while he's kind of like lying why he's there. Like, he's like, oh, like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, there's something wrong with the plane. Check it out. And there's nothing wrong with it. And while they're on that island, Godzilla attacks them, and they go back to Japan, and he has to rebuild. His family's like gone. And sort of like the PTSD of Godzilla is still like with him, and then Godzilla ends up coming back, and you know, Japan. The reason it's called -1 is because Japan is at 0 at this point.
It's like
Godzilla,
Death Con, right?
Right.
Almost,
Godzilla takes them down below 0. And I love that like idea.
Cool idea. Yeah.
Very cool naming convention. And yeah, I like Godzilla did win an Oscar for best special effects, and I think it totally deserved it. Awesome to see like that Godzilla pop culture icon sort of get this moment sort of almost out of nowhere,
Gooch,
especially for an American
audience. You want to hear
audience.
this, Gooch? He's probably one of the most like the staples of pop culture.
Yeah,
weird
for
ways.
sure.
Like it's
everyone knows
kind
who
of
Godzilla is. Yeah, it is weird.
And he's been in movies since forever, since almost as long as Hollywood's been around. It's wild.
Yeah. So Godzilla -1 was definitely my top movie of the year. But coming up next, no particular order going on from here, Barbie. And Oppenheimer. They're both in this, of course. So I'll talk about Barbie first. Barbie, yeah, I didn't know what to expect with Barbie per se. Like I felt like I was gonna like it. It just felt very different from the movies we're accustomed to watching. I guess kind of like Godzilla in a way too. It just like wasn't something that would probably be on my radar if not for this big, you know, cinematic movement known as Barbenheimer.
I agree.
I think both those movies kind of lifted each other up in a way.
Agree.
I mean, we've never seen anything happen like that before. And Barbie was fun. I think it's a movie for all audiences. It has a message that isn't necessarily for us straight white dudes, but you know, I think if you're a woman, you can probably take something away from it, or just have a little fun with it. What do you have to say? Yeah.
No, nothing. Just Barbie. It's fine. It was fun. It's not. I don't think it is a movie for all audience. I think it's very squarely for ladies.
Yeah,
I
think when I said all ages, I meant like all like adults. It's a movie for like adults and maybe even teens. But I don't think it's a movie for kids.
No,
it's definitely not. There's a lot of like adult jokes and like, you know, going on and
honestly, even past that, it's just like it's not for me, and that's fine. That's totally fine. And I did find a lot of it funny, and I thought it was an incredibly well-made film. I think Greta Gerwig's a fantastic director. It's on my honorable mentions, not to get too ahead of myself. But yeah, it didn't like blow. You know, I had fun with it at the very least, for sure.
Yeah, I enjoy, again, the Barbenheimer movement was really cool. And then Oppenheimer. But Oppenheimer is sort of the exact opposite, right? A movie that we knew about from the first trailer. Christopher Nolan, you know, we were all in on that. 70mm IMAX seems to be like a big thing now.
3-hour character study. Like, you don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
It is wild.
Yeah. But Christopher Nolan, like, it was a Nolan movie, so it was on our radars as
absolutely.
Christopher Nolan fans, or, you know, I guess his movies usually do pretty well.
Sure.
Maybe not Dunkirk or even Tenet, but that was COVID, so a bit different.
I was gonna say,
but his movies are usually on our radars, or and on most people's radars, where like there's a build up from the trailer,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved it. That movie won a few Oscars. Robert Downey Jr. It was great seeing some of these our Marvel actors doing other things than Marvel. It kind of really shows how good of an actor they are when they're given, you know, I don't think Iron Man is an Oscar worthy character per se.
Well, no, and I think, you know, RDJ also injects a lot of himself into Iron Man in a lot of ways, in certain ways, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But no, it is nice to see him get to really kind of stretch his acting chops in a big way, for sure.
And win his first Oscar, which is awesome.
That is wild. I did not realize that was his first one. Yeah, that's cool.
Dude, Strauss is such a cool character, and I think we talked about it when we were watching Oppenheimer or doing the review when like Aaron Aldenreich has that one line to him. He's like, well, like maybe it just didn't matter as much as you think.
You had
something like that.
Ehrenreich. You said Aaron Aldenreich. It was good. No, but yo, I agree with you. I think that is a really great scene, and it speaks volumes how much RDJ has talked about how really little he is on screen for most of that film. He's really not as like he's there presently, like in the background, and he definitely shows up, but like he isn't in a lot of that movie, which is funny to think about. And I think that does speak volumes to his performance and how well he did. I don't want to start going into my thoughts on Oppenheimer, but
next up, The Holdovers, which is a movie that you watched and told me it was really good, and I knew it was up for some Golden Globes, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna add The Holdovers to my list. And honestly, I would probably say it's my number 2 movie of the year. I fucking love The Holdovers. to get into the short of it, The Holdovers is about a movie about a private boys' school, and it's Christmas, and all the kids are going home on vacation, and
it's a boarding school.
Yeah, and some of those kids don't have any place to go, so they're the holdovers for the holiday
winter break,
season.
yeah.
So one of their professors has to stay along with them, played by Paul Giamatti.
The surly Paul Giamatti.
Surly?
Yeah, like just very like, fuck you. Like he's just like kind of, get off my lawn.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. He's very get off my lawn. And so he's taking care of a group of boys, and that's sort of the premise of the film. We have a newcomer actor, Dominic Sessa, who is actually from the New Jersey area.
He was from the school they filmed in.
Apparently Luke like knows who he is or something like that.
Really? Interesting.
Because I think like I'm like him and Luke and Dom. Oh God, I wish Luke was here. Because like I'm like, you look and talk exactly like this kid. Like,
it is very similar.
Like and you're
out.
older than him. I'm like, so who's copying who?
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just, it was really heartfelt. I just really enjoyed it. Slice of life movie. I like overall just fucking adored The Holdovers. I think it's like a must watch.
I agree.
Is it a Christmas movie? Are we adding it to the Christmas
I
list?
mean, if Spider-Man's a fucking Thanksgiving film, that's a Christmas movie. So let's continue.
Yeah, The Holdovers was just fucking great.
It was.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the last of my top 5. Again, no particular order there. I'll keep it short. We've had a lot of bad superhero movies in I'll say 2023 and 2024. Guardians 3 was just like anything but bad.
It was a fantastic film.
Yeah, our outing for James Gunn in Marvel, and if hopefully that he brings that quality and that punch over to DC and really gets them off on a good foot with Superman Legacy. The wrap of the Guardians characters, Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket Raccoon, Drax, Mantis. It just felt really right and really earned. Like he really
completely agree.
He had built his way as a director to this point, but also the entire cast had built this way to this point as well. And, putting a nice bow on things and maybe not going out with deaths or a bang per se, but going out kind of the way you just want to go out.
In an extremely satisfactory way.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily need to be everyone dies or everyone lives. There's a little bit of happiness, a little bit of sadness. It's very real. And I think James Gunn just did a phenomenal job and really cemented himself as a director, but as an auteur.
I agree.
That's why he's the head of DC Studios.
Yes. I mean, just to jump off that, because I guess that'll come to me anyways. That is your last one, right?
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy is on mine, of course, as well.
Yeah, go for it.
James Gunn really is like one of those directors I look forward to seeing whatever he's going to put out. He's done a lot of superhero-related stuff in the past, or in these past couple of years, with Suicide Squad and even Guardians. But, it is truly, like you said, a fantastic send-off to these characters, these amazing heartfelt moments, especially that scene with Rocket and Star-Lord where he thinks he's dying, and you just feel the emotion come through and you feel the love for these characters coming from the actors, the director, and everyone on set. You can tell time and effort was put into that film, and it was incredibly thought out and pre-vised, and they weren't changing things at the last minute. Nothing felt like they were in a random empty room that they could change again at any time because they didn't want to make any decisions early on. I can't give him enough credit. Like you said, I'll echo your thoughts on him starting off Man of Steel or Superman,
Legacy,
just Superman, which, it's funny. I thought.
So wait, it's not Legacy.
It's not Superman Legacy. When he announced the filming starting, he said they decided the name is just Superman, which I love.
So we haven't had a Superman movie just called Superman.
We have.
Right?
Superman from the original Chris Donner was also called Superman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. But
because the one with Christopher Reeves is Superman the movie.
So I guess that's So yeah, I think you're right. So this is Superman. That's Superman the movie. So I guess this is the only just Superman. It's not the Superman.
Oh wait, that was the movie you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, you're right.
Who'd you say?
I'm confused now. Richard Donner.
Oh yeah, you said the director. I said the actor.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? I was like, oh, are we not on the same page here?
I have the utmost faith in him. I think he knows what he's doing when he's in the director chair. He has confidence in his choices, and he has the correct people around him to fuel those choices. And I fucking love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think it's the best Marvel trilogy.
Yeah.
Period.
I don't think it's that's
I think
hard
it's the
to
most
contest.
complete. I think it is the most endearing, and I think it just leaves these characters in a place that I wouldn't mind seeing more of Star-Lord and seeing what's going on there. But
I mean, I think we're going to.
And I hope you do,
Just
because
not
it
with
does
James
say
Gunn.
that. Yeah, they does say that he returns, but I'm completely satisfied with where they left those characters, and they could never touch them again, and I would be happy and completely content. And then to move on, The Holdovers was also on my list with you, Gooch. I won't repeat myself in a lot of it. I can only echo what you were saying. I think it's an amazing character-driven story that's just, to use the word again, heartfelt and fun to watch and endearing in a lot of ways. And I think Paul Giamatti's performance, as well as
Dominic Sessa,
really just are the linchpin of that movie, and their growth throughout the whole film. That shows me that those movies really work well.
And I forgot to mention the woman. I forget her name. The black. woman.
Yeah, she's
She's from
great.
Philly.
Yeah,
and she won the
An
best
Oscar?
supporting role for that.
she was awesome in it too. The
Yeah.
entire cast was
I'm
great.
sorry, I would totally
No,
forget her name.
no, I do too. I feel bad, but they were amazing. And you start out with the group of the 5 kids at the beginning, and I was actually a little bit kind of like, this is all right.
Right, we
and
got
then
an
once they
ensemble here.
left for like the ski thing, I was like, oh, this really kind of picked up into it.
Divine Joy Randolph. Her name
Awesome.
is Mary in the
She
movie.
was fantastic. She really was one of the best parts too. That scene where she's kind of losing it, like at the house party, because like
Yeah,
she
her
was
son.
husband.
Yeah.
Oh, it was her son, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I like the foil. Like, I love how just like all of their lives are so different, and they're all like fucked up in their own ways, and like that's I feel like.
And Giamatti's character is like a loser, kind of to hit. Like he's trying to play himself up to like the guy when he meets him and everything.
Yeah, dude, that was so interesting when it's like he was in Harvard or
Yeah.
Princeton, he got kicked out, and like this was like the only thing he could do was
yeah.
teach at the school that he went to, and like that's what his life is like, sort of.
And
like
the headmaster is like an old student he used to have too.
Right, so,
Yeah.
or like an old professor, I think,
Right,
and
yeah,
he gave
yeah.
him the job like sort of out of pity, and like Angus Tully has a fucked up family. His mom is sort of like dating another guy. His dad has some like mental issues and is in
he
an
kind of went
asylum.
psychotic, or he seemed to get like
or
kind of
has,
mental
like,
break of some
dementia.
kind. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dementia. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a psychotic break. I would just call it dementia.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, not even. I guess like he seemed like almost schizophrenic, like lightly schizophrenic. in a
Right,
way.
right, yeah. Forgetting who people are.
exactly.
And it kind of like breaks his life up, and then his mom like doesn't come home for
Again,
him.
it's not
and
like
then the
she's
ending.
like beats him or is like emotionally abusive. She's just like not there for him.
Right. I mean, he's at a boarding
Yeah.
school, for Christ's sake.
And she just leaves him during Christmas and stuff. But Holdovers, I can't help but recommend. I can wholeheartedly recommend. Definitely check out that film. Paul Giamatti, it's one of my favorite performances by him. He's a fantastic actor. I love him whenever I see him in anything. But Oppenheimer, again, I can only really kind of echo what you said, Gooch. Just the fact, like I said, that it is an almost 3-hour movie about people sitting in a room talking about quantum physics, and it did that well, regardless of the whole Barbenheimer thing, I think speaks volumes to what that film is and how good of a director Chris Nolan is, and how secure he is in his vision in a lot of ways. Even like, again, I think the directors are they're 50% of it. The other 50% of it is who they have around them with their DP and their storyboard folks and the folks that kind of help kind of rein them in. And he seems to have a really good group of people behind him, like Tarantino, like why am I forgetting other, just big auteur names? Snyder, sure.
Snyder has his people.
And listen, I will even say, I think he doesn't have his same DP anymore. He does a lot of his photography on that himself. And I do think he's lost something there in that for me personally.
Fabian Wagner was his DP, right?
Right, yeah, and now I don't think I think he's been his own DP on Rebel Moon
And Army.
and I think you feel that a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think
I kind of agree with
like
you there.
I think a director is just as important as his team, and Chris Nolan speaks to that in many different ways. But Oppenheimer's a fantastic film. Cillian Murphy holds it together, but the entire cast is on point, and there isn't a single person who isn't firing on all cylinders. That interview scene where he's getting lit up by, I can't remember that actor's name. I like him a lot too. The guy who's like really going into it. He's great in a lot of things. He's kind of one of that guys for me. Like it's that guy. You know what I mean? Like he's really good.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just a fantastic film, and I cannot wait to see what Nolan does next. And then these are my last two. These ones were different from you, Gooch. I kind of racked my brain here a little bit because I was thinking about putting Dungeons and Dragons here, and kind of maybe swapping out the last one there, but John Wick Chapter 4, dude, it had no right to be that good, in my opinion. Because 3 was kind of It felt like we were on the downtrend with John Wick. I was excited, but I wasn't like, let's go see John Wick Chapter 4. But coming out of that theater, I was like, oh, we're back. Like, this was awesome. Yeah. I'm thinking we're back.
We're back.
There's so many cool and like innovative like fight scenes. The stair scene is hilarious in its own right, but it's also really cool in its action right. Keanu's at the top of his game. I didn't think you could do anything very different, but going to the Tokyo what's the name of the hotels? I'm forgetting off the top of my head.
Continental.
The Tokyo Continental, and dealing with that character, the kind of mirroring of his one friend's daughter I'm trying to remember the exact storyline, but I can't remember. He can't visit his daughter, or that like he sees his daughter
I think
get killed. I'm trying to. It was very poetic, and I feel bad that I can't remember it at the moment. But it was a lot of very interesting and cool thematic elements that I think just kind of elevated the world. I think they leaned into the weirdness of it just enough, whereas the third one got a little too crazy with like he's going in the middle of the desert to have this like walkabout to see the head of the table, then to get forgiven, just to only go back to the hotel to be just excommunicadoed again. So I think John Wick Chapter 4 is just really fantastic. And I mean, even if you're kind of a little bit out of it on the John Wick series, even after 3, I think it's incredibly worth your time. And it still has some of the best action out there you can get. But other than that, Gooch, I think to finish us off here, we're going to do a scary movie. And it's one that I actually really enjoyed and kind of stuck with me throughout the year, if you will. Talk to Me. I think I brought it up on a podcast. The basic premise is these guys have an embalmed hand that they speak to the devil through. And you have to, it's like on a board and it looks like this, and you have to shake its hand and you say, talk to me. And then a spirit inhabits your body, but you're only supposed to do it for so long. And this girl the girl that you follow ends up, holding on a bit too long, and things kind of go downhill. Again, very atmospheric. There's some jump scares and stuff, but I brought this up earlier, but I am sick of the jump scare reliance in a lot of scary movies. I love a scary movie that just takes the time to build its scene and really kind of sit in the ambience of it all and build tension. And I want to see The First Omen really bad. It's getting really good reviews, and I heard that it's done
Charles
very well.
Dance is in that. I'm like, really? Is that what we're doing?
What's weird though, dude?
Odd.
They completely they didn't talk about that at all preview wise. Like the trailer, the reviews were coming out the day of the movie release, so like people were thinking this is gonna suck, and it seemed like Disney, and because I think it was owned by Fox, so now Disney has it. And they didn't have a lot of faith in it, but apparently it's incredibly good. So I want to check it out. I love.
What about
super
Immaculate? Sydney Sweeney's one.
I need to check that out too. My roommate Ian, he loves horror movies, and I enjoy them too. So like he's an easy person
Shout
for me
out
to
to
go
Ian.
with. Shout out to Ian.
Where would we be without his printer?
Absolutely, yeah. But definitely check out Talk to Me if you have any interest in scary movies. I think it's a really fantastic, intense one. But do you want to move on to honorable mentions, Gooch?
Yeah, you'll start that, and
right.
then we'll come back to me.
Sounds good. So Barbie, I kind of talked about already. I don't really need to beat a dead horse about that. I think it's a really incredibly well-made movie. I had fun with it in a lot of ways. I thought there were some really laugh out loud
I'm kind of surprised
places.
it's on your honorable mentions. You seem kind of down on it when I brought it up.
Yeah, no, I think it was because I think it's an incredibly well-made movie. And again, I think it's the audience. It was a movie made for the audience that it was made for, and it was made incredibly well. You know what I mean? And I did have fun with it. I think Greta Gerwig, like I said before, is a really fantastic director. I think there's some really great just like cinematography in weird ways in this and the sets and everything. But yeah, I had fun with it. I wouldn't put it in my top 5, but I think it's it's worthy of being on that list at the very least. And then after that, Gooch, I think you'll probably laugh at this one, but truthfully, Aquaman and the Last Kingdom. It had the shitty
Lost.
job.
Lost.
I said last.
Yeah.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. They got fucked every which way on that. It was in the full ether change of the DCU. They didn't know what was happening. They didn't know how to end it, mostly because they didn't know where the world was going to end up. So I think where you really feel it is in that end scene when it's obviously shot last minute and he's just like, I'm Aquaman. Woo! But I thoroughly enjoyed most of that movie when it came down to like the sets, Black Manta being super Black Manta-y. I felt like they leaned into, I think the inherent camp that Aquaman does need to a degree. I think you could take him seriously, but part of the fun is that he is a bit silly. And I like how much it leaned into it. The villain sets were hilariously intricate. they all had these like little they were literally henchmen, which you don't see that a lot in a movie. And I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with Aquaman and the Last Kingdom. I felt bad how it got just kind of totally fucked over by the whole DCU madness. And I think James Wan did like the best he could with the situation he's given. And I truly don't think it's much worse than the first one. So like I don't know like what everyone, I think there is that fatigue that we talk about, and there's nothing there that's really bringing people to the theater, so that's sad. But I had a lot of fun with it and I enjoyed it. And then to finish off the list here, Gooch, was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Kind of a similar boat to Aquaman. I didn't really care about another Indiana Jones follow-up. I did feel like he was like, all right, we're getting pretty old here. What are we going to do? Are we setting up like a new Indy? You're bringing in his goddaughter. What's the plan? And I didn't feel like they ignored his age. I felt like he was doing things that like that aged person should do as Indiana Jones, but he was holding his own. I did like the time travel bit and the idea of going back to the Greek War, and I thought Mads Mikkelsen did a pretty great job as the villain. Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't anything. Was it anything to write home about? No, but I thought it was a pretty serviceable, if not good, Indiana Jones movie. Definitely enjoyed it more than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it's a bit better of a movie overall. I think there's some parts of Crystal Skull that I like over Dial of Destiny, but
yeah, it does. Like I really liked the scene where he was talking about like what happened to Mutt and everything, where he's talking about how he went to war and then that's how he lost his wife. Like there's some interesting ideas there, but it's sad. I just don't know if people want. I hope
they just let it lie.
They should at this point.
Just let it fucking lie.
Use the game. Do the game. Fine. We'll have the game. That should be fun, and I'm actually excited for the game.
Yeah.
But I completely concur, Gooch, for sure. But that's all for my honorable mentions.
Yeah. So my honorable mentions.
I'm sorry. Actually, one more. I apologize. I didn't write down D&D, but we can talk about it more when you get to it on yours.
Which I will do.
Yeah.
I guess right now. Honorable mentions. Pretty much a totally different list from you, Trio, except I guess Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons is on here because I just had a lot of fun with it. It kind of re-exposed me to D&D after our first campaign, which ended probably like maybe a year or two prior to that.
Right.
And then it kind of kickstarted our current campaign. We went to you weren't with us, but it was me, Casey, Mike Mandel, and Matt Penza, all friends of the show. And that's kind of like we saw that movie, and then we had an hour and a half conversation in the parking lot about D&D. And that I think this is the first time Casey and Mandel and Penza Casey and Penza had met Mandel. So the shaking of the hands there, the introduction, and then that's kind of where we seriously got talking about doing our next campaign, which we're in the middle of, which we're on a bit of a hiatus because of Casey.
Yeah, no, it's hey, it's the summertime, gonna be what it's gonna be.
Yeah, but D&D was like just a really fun movie. I really enjoyed it. Like I went in and like I didn't know what to think. I think the cast was really good. Chris Pine, Michelle Gonzalez, among a few other people. In this movie, Hugh Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed what Dungeons & Dragons had to offer. Sometimes fun is good, and that's all it needs to be. A movie.
I completely agree.
And speaking of fun, another movie that I think is fun, but also a little bit more, the Super Mario Brothers movie. Especially me being a Nintendo hater, I think Super Mario Brothers was just exactly what it needed to be for me. An homage and to the great properties and IP of Shigeru Miyamoto and Nintendo, but also just a really fun, enjoyable movie. Really surprised that Chris Pratt really was able to bring it home as Mario, even though he from minute one of that announcement, it was just a big giant meme, and we were all like, "What the fuck?" How did Chris Pratt get Mario? But it worked out. We're gonna get a sequel for that. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope it's better.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, Mario was just a really, really fun movie for me. And now my last honorable mention, the exact opposite of fun. The Zone of Interest. Do you know anything about this movie?
I do not.
The Zone of Interest is about the family of the head of Auschwitz.
Oh.
And it's a very dramatic movie.
Interesting.
It is literally a study of the family living next to the concentration camp. You never see the concentration camp. You never see anyone die. Nothing like that.
Was the boy with the striped pajamas,
Sorta like
something
that.
like that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's sort of like that in the same vein. But so yeah, you are basically just watching this family live next to a death camp, and the movie is the horror is in the sound. You hear gunshots just in the background randomly. You see the smoke from the crematorium. You see the trains coming in and out. You hear screaming. You hear dogs. You hear guards. The gunshots, screaming, and this is all just sputtered. Is that even a word? Sputtered throughout the film. Like it's just there.
Yeah.
Like
it's like atmosphere.
Right. Yeah. Like it's just a normal everyday thing, and somehow the commandant, his name's Commandant Haas, the Haas family, they're all okay with it. The
banality of evil, Gooch.
Yeah, the family knows, or at least the
mom,
the mother knows. But like again, like, do the kids know? Even though there's an older son, like probably like teens.
Do they even really comprehend?
Right. I was watching with my dad. I watched it on like literally Friday, so like 2 days ago. And we were talking about it, and I'm like, even if they were okay with it, okay with the murder of, genocide, even if they were okay with it, why would you want to live next to it and like smell it and like be with it? It's
isn't that? But that's the idea, isn't he? I would assume he was like assigned, right? So they have to be there with him,
right? But like they just seem so okay with it.
But that's the banality of evil. That's the thing. Like, it's
but
just like,
and not even the fact that like they're okay with doing it, but like again, imagine like living next to a place that like slaughtered animals. That would probably be like weird for you. Like the fact that like,
but again, a lot of people live next to slaughterhouses, and because they're animals, they don't care.
Yeah,
that's the fucked up, and that's the idea, I guess, right? They believe they're animals.
Yeah. So the movie isn't like it's dialogue heavy. It's very sound heavy. There's not a lot going on. It's very like non-dramatic. But again, the plot.
Is it them like falling apart, or
no.
is it like it's just literally following like their?
Well, the big thing that happens in the movie is he's going to get transferred, and she doesn't want to leave. They have a really nice house, a really beautiful home, a really beautiful property next to fucking Auschwitz.
Right.
And it kind of makes sense why she doesn't want to leave, but it's a very fucked up and kind of makes sense. Yeah. Like she likes it here, and it's like, okay, like she's willing to stay, but like you can go.
Yeah.
Like it's very interesting, and like it ends up not happening. And the movie kind of ends like somewhat abruptly. I mean, like you obviously like know what happens. I'm not sure what year this takes place. But they're kind of like they talk a lot about there's like people selling him on like a new type of crematorium and like a system, and it's like very weird. It's very
because it's being that's what it's being talked about, like like an office thing almost, like
right.
Like I need a new printer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. This printer does this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
But again, there's no. You're not really seeing You're not seeing the brutality. And you're not really even hearing it all that much, but it's there. And the fact that you know that it's there, and you know that like this family is having like a little spring party next to a concentration camp is wild. The mom's mom comes to visit, and I think one of the first or second nights, the crematorium is going, and she like sees it, and it's like all red outside, and she like goes to the window and she looks at it, and the next day she's just gone. Yeah, she just leaves. I think she leaves the mom a note, or her daughter a note, and she like ends up throwing it into the like incinerator.
She doesn't read it.
She reads it, but like you don't know what it says, and she just like opens up the furnace, throws it in. Yeah, and it was just like, Jesus Christ. Very impactful movie, but in a very like it's not gonna make
way.
You cry. Yeah, very subdued, very cool.
Interesting.
But I would highly recommend it. It's a pretty short watch too. It's not very long, but I think it's really impactful. It kind of reminded me
in German, or is it
mostly in German? It's all in German, pretty much.
Okay.
But it reminded me of like Dunkirk, just like a different kind of World War II movie, like just not this like highly, not like a Saving Private Ryan or like just a big action set piece. It's like very different,
much more personal.
Yeah. And that was it for my honorable mentions, and we will now go to the last part of the DNNeys, the uglies. Let's start things off. The Marvels.
What else can we say?
One of the worst superhero movies of last year for sure. But we all kind of knew this was going to be bad. That was the thing about this. But it needs to be stated that Marvel is in.
I will say I didn't know it was going to be bad.
Comic book cinema is in a state of
Flux at the very least.
Depravity.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
utter trash. And it's hard to. I think now, I think the population now kind of sees that. I feel like a lot of people know Marvel movies and DC movies are kind of shit right now, for the most part, and there's a lot.
Well, they think it for sure. Yeah. So that doesn't even matter if it's true or not.
And Madam Web didn't really.
Well, that's what I mean. When you have that coming out, just like I've talked to you this in abundance about this, but like a lot of normies think that is an MCU movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's because and that's Sony's doing, to be honest, because they want all that recognition. But did you see the concept art release of like it was what's his name fighting Spider-Man, like Tom Holland Spider-Man? It was Ezekiel fighting Tom Holland Spider-Man. You know why they created that, right? To trick people, to trick actors. They definitely showed, they're like, yeah, this is what might happen at the end of the movie. Spider-Man's going to show up. He was never showing up in Madam Web. Are you fucking nuts? It's so funny seeing that shit. But no, when you have examples like Madam Web, what are you going to do?
Yeah, like I don't even have much to say about the Marvels. Like it's just,
I don't think it's like overwhelmed. It's not like a technically made, like a technically terrible bad movie in the way of like how it's made.
Right.
It's just so, who gives a fuck?
It's a fart in the wind.
Yeah. Like no, and I yeah, exactly. There's not even much more to say. I could just go. Yeah. I'm speechless.
The next one was kind of comic. The next one kind of caught me by surprise. Poor Things. I really didn't like Poor Things, and this won a few Oscars and a few Golden Globes. Emma Stone, like really out of nowhere, won Best Actress.
She seemed surprised herself.
Yeah. Kind of taking it from Lily Gladstone with Killers of the Flower Moon, which is like really the only the part of the movie that I liked was Lily Gladstone's performance.
Forgot that came out this year.
Yeah. Did you watch that? No. Yeah. I think you're okay skipping on it.
Yeah, I might at some point. But
yeah.
I don't know.
But I think Poor Things is like a really weird. It's like too weird. It's about. So the idea is, I'm gonna give you a quick dirty rundown.
All right.
Emma Stone commits suicide. She's found by Willem Dafoe, and she's pregnant.
Right.
So she's like alive though. So she commits suicide, but she doesn't.
Like
succeed.
She didn't succeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's still like technically like not brain alive, not brain dead.
Yeah.
And so Willem Dafoe switches her brain with the baby's.
Okay.
And so when she's reanimated, like a Frankenstein, she is like
a child.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she has to relearn how to be an adult. And part of that is, she's in an adult body. So she has like some sort of like speech, like she learns like day by day, like quickly. So like suspense is a little disbelief here.
Right.
And like some of the first things she learns, she's just like kind of acting like a child, but like she quickly learns how to masturbate.
Right.
And sex becomes a big part of the movie where she's just like having sex with people or like masturbating and like, and again, Emma Stone fully nude in this. And
you see full?
Yeah.
Like everything.
Yes.
Top, bottom.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, Willem Dafoe is like this freak of nature kind of guy, like all like fucked up, scarred up, experimented on. He's running like classes at a university. And he gets this guy to like help him with Emma Stone. And eventually I think they decide that like his assistant is going to marry her.
Interesting.
And they bring in, Mark Ruffalo to write up the legal papers for this. And he like becomes infatuated with her and he runs away with her to like Lisbon.
Right.
And they fuck a lot. And like it goes from there, and then there's like sexual escapades, and Mark Ruffalo is pretty interesting in it, but she becomes like a whore at one point, and it's not all about sex, but it's a lot about sex. And I just found it like to be like this, like, when women talk about men being stereotypically men, I'm like, this is like kind of it. I'm like, this is weird. Like, this is really weird.
But then someone will probably say to you, well, this is a view of that, Gooch. Actually, this is we're looking at that prism of, this is a male gaze, but we're turning it on its head. I don't know.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
I watched it alone, and my mom was like kind of interested in watching it. I'm like, thank God, because it was like a bit too much. It was a bit like too promiscuous. It wasn't like Game of Thrones sex where like sometimes it's promiscuous, but like it's a bit different in the context.
Right.
Yeah, and I just like, how did this movie win Oscars? How did this like how are like people like kind of down with this? This is really strange. So yeah, didn't really like Poor Things at all. And I didn't really think Emma Stone deserved the Oscar, and clearly she didn't think so.
I was going to
either.
say I think she was surprised. Yeah, that is interesting.
Very interesting movie for her, and I think like Willem Dafoe does a pretty good job, and like again, like the acting's interesting. It kind of has a Wes Anderson
I was going to
feel
say
to it.
I definitely got that vibe.
There's like a painterly background, like I think like
A lot of center shots and such.
yeah, there's like artistic shots that I really like in the way to pick things.
Interesting.
But overall, weird.
Interesting.
And then last, but certainly not least, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That ending, man. What a bummer. I just could not go over how they like made half a movie and people liked it.
Yeah.
I don't really have much to say. It's really the ending that makes this on the ugly list of just like, we talk about games sort of like being like half a game and like it ends or something like that, or even shows doing that.
Yeah.
But the fact that this movie was so willing to like axe its narrative in half and be like, yeah, see you in like next year, and that the sequel to that was supposed to come out like a week or two ago.
But apparently the crunch on it has been very bad and stuff too.
Yeah, so it just seems like it maybe if it came out when it was planned to, I would change my tune about it, but now it's like delayed like a year or something like that. And it's just like, yeah, it's really hard to justify that real cliffhanger ending when it's like we saw
waiting
like,
that long.
Yeah,
Like even with
I can't
Endgame,
stomach that.
Like with Infinity War, we had a year between that, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
And like we came out of that theater stunned. Like I'll never forget like how shocked we were. But like I can't believe they just ended that like that. Like we were just like total. Like we both were like totally beside ourselves. It's very rare we come out of like Madam Web and Across the Spider-Verse were two defining moments on our cinematic watching career, where we were just besides ourselves. And yeah, I just can't get down with a movie that decides to end like that. And that's why it's ugly.
think it did just like I think there's a lot to love about that movie. I really enjoy a lot of what they do with 2099 Spider-Man. Miguel
O'Hara.
I think he's really great. I love Oscar Isaac as him. I think that there's some interesting ideas explored, but yeah, they do just arrest all the momentum at the end there. It really did just, and I think you can do a part 1 and part 2. I think Dune does it really well, but there's a way you have to position it that doesn't feel like you just like you're like, all right, almost there. Nope, we're done.
Right.
You get nothing.
Right.
That's it. End of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Dune Part 1 and 2, like Part 1 doesn't end like that. It's like, oh, okay, like we said in the review, Part 1 walks so Part 2 could, start a holy war. But like it doesn't end on this like big cliffhanger moment. It just kind of ends. Like it was like, oh yeah, there's clearly going to be another part. But it doesn't like end you on this moment of suspense.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Again, I think there's a way you can do it correctly. It just that didn't feel like the correct way to me. It definitely didn't make it on the ugly list for me because of that, but it was definitely an issue I had with it for sure.
But what did make it on your ugliest trio? Finish us off.
So I did, the Marvels would have been on mine, but I thought we'd talk about it, and I don't really need to go as well. But yeah, The Flash, Gooch. I was surprised talking about endings. I think the ending of The Flash is what really does it. That whole CG mirage of everyone just surrounding him and looking at them from their various universe. Like, you didn't have to do that. Like, lean into something more. If you're gonna bring back Nick Cage to do this full scene as Superman, just do that or something like that. You know what I mean? It just felt like they were really trying to lean into that multiverse stuff in just an odd way. Not that you don't have to, because, this movie was supposed to come out years ago. This was supposed to be the first multiverse thing. They were going to beat them to it. But then it went through 8 more directors, and then poor Andy Muschietti got stuck with it. Who, listen, I love him as a director, and I think he took a mountain and made it into a molehill in this one, or vice versa, because, he was handed a really tough job, a movie that went through so many different phases and directions and stuff like that, and ended up making a pretty okay film. I just really do think, unfortunately, that weird CGI scene at the end makes it ugly for me. And like, you're bringing back the like people that you can't get permission from, like the original Superman actor. Like, you can't have permission to bring him back. I don't even think really any of his family is alive. So like you're just
No, they are.
Are they? I know Christopher
I think
Reeve's family is alive
Oh,
still.
who were we talking about?
The black and like the original one that they show him. He's like in black and white.
Yeah.
It just feels weirdly like morbid in certain ways.
Like
and,
they're pushing that AI line.
And I don't know. I just don't really like it. And there's the scene with Wonder Woman. I think I was kind of more okay with it when we saw it, but thinking back, I do think that is a dumb one to bring her in, and she like does her like lasso trick on him again. You see them for a second in the movie, Batman and Wonder Woman. Remember?
Yeah, in the beginning.
I really don't. I actually don't hate that baby scene that much. I think if you make that, they went for this like weird Looney Tune type of thing, and I do think if you make those babies look too realistic, it actually makes it like a little bit more like, ugh, this is kind of weird. Like there's a knife gun.
I think it's weird.
He puts a baby in the microwave and stuff. I don't know. That stuff I really didn't mind. And Ezra Miller, for all their shit and annoyances, I don't think they were bad in the movie. Ezra
Miller got removed from Invincible.
Like very
Sinclair.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I didn't even know he was in it too, which is funny. It was very quiet too. They announced it like after the season came out, which to be honest, I kind of understand. But yeah, I think that's really what makes it, ugly for me, Gooch. Otherwise, though, I actually did have some fun with The Flash. I think that there are some great moments in it. I love Michael Keaton in it. I think he did a really fantastic job just coming back as Bruce Wayne. But yeah, I think that's where I'm at on my ugly. There's probably more. I couldn't really think of anything else, though, besides because, you brought up the Marvels. Oh, how could I forget? This was the same year, right? Thor? Love and Thunder?
No,
that was last year? Okay, all right. So that was on the ugly. All right. Yeah, that's it for me, Gooch.
Yeah, I think that's it for the DNN. He's a little shorter because there's just two of us. We don't have Luke to go
definitely.
through.
But I mean, I still think we went long. We started probably like over an hour ago at least.
Oh yeah. We definitely went over an hour. I don't think maybe we're just approaching like 1.5 to 2.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fantastic, Gooch. This was a lot of fun. We'll definitely be back next year. Hopefully, Luke can join us, but he's always welcome here. Maybe we'll be off strike. Thank you all so much for watching with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on your favorite service. We are on all your favorite social media apps as well. Everywhere with an @sign, we are at Delco Nerds. We got a Facebook page, a Discord channel, all of which shall be linked down below. You can find all this information on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. If you can like, comment, subscribe on the video, tell your friends about us. It really goes a long way. We really appreciate any of you guys following along every week. We do this because it's a lot of fun, but it's also nice to know people are watching. So please feel free to share it up. You can also email us your comments, questions, or concerns, delconerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you at the movies.